Yes, guys, welcome to the Game Week 28 Deadline live stream. Hope everybody is doing well. Of course, it is a Friday deadline. So, if you're stumbling upon the stream right now, isn't just a casual Friday stream. We do have a deadline in about just under an hour and a half's time. So, make sure, if you haven't already, you get your questions in the chat because we have got 90 minutes or so to try and answer every single question that you guys want answering. And of course, I actually need to make a transfer as well. I haven't made a transfer myself, so I need to make that hopefully live on this stream. We'll come to some sort of conclusion on exactly what I am doing with my team. We'll talk about captaincy. We'll talk about the upcoming blank and double game weeks that we really do need to start planning with our transfers. That's something that is absolutely a factor in the potential players that we are talking about. And in general, just the usual FPL stuff. And first and foremost, please do let me know in the chat, what are your overarching thoughts on a Friday deadline? Personally, I don't mind them because you kind of get your weekend available. You're not rushing around on Saturday morning trying to get things sorted, whether it be content, whether it be consuming content or simply making your transfers. It is a bit stressful on a Friday evening getting things done, but you know, once 6:30 has come and gone, you have basically got your whole entire weekend to enjoy it and hopefully not be ruined by FPL. So guys, let me know in the chat, what are your general thoughts on that? Do you like a Friday deadline? Do you not? And all the usual stuff. I can see Dawn already in the chat who are doing well. Pick one and pretend that Verts is fit, which of course he isn't. For anybody that has been waiting for the Verts news, I for one was thinking about possibly bringing him in this week. It looks like he isn't going to be available for Game Week 28. And of course, with Game Week 29 so close to Game Week 28, we kind of have to rule out basically Verts as a pick altogether, really. So pick one and pretend Verts is fit. Okay, we'll pretend Kanate, Mbeumo, Tavernier, Kanate, Mbeumo, and Rayan, or Kanate, Verts, and Dango, VVD, Verts, and Tavernier. Okay, so let's just assume, I can't really assume Verts is fit because he isn't. So my answer to that really would be Kanate, Mbeumo, and I think I quite like the exciting pick of Rayan, so I would go down that route. Ollie, best captain this week. I am quite happy with the decision of captaining Erling Haaland. I do think really with the week that we've got coming up, I think Bruno Fernandes is a great alternative, but I just think Haaland is the standout pick this week. I think Leeds are good, but I think Man City are a lot better, and I'm anticipating them to win that game quite comfortably. I think Man United could also win that game comfortably against Palace as well. Remember, Palace played on Thursday night, but I just think Haaland is still the best captain this game week by far. Jonah, hey Nacho, I've already made 3 to 4 transfers. Should I also do Rice to Danga or keep for flexibility? So I think that is an okay move, especially in preparation for blank game week 31, 100%. However, I do think we also need to remember that Rice is one of those players that probably is going to hit a 4-pointer regardless. He'll get a DEFCON in this Chelsea game most likely, and I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal were to keep a clean sheet. So if that's the case, you're possibly looking at a 5-point floor for Declan Rice. I think Dango's great, and he definitely helps you out for blank game week 31, but I would make the move with also an understanding of, okay, what is that else going to do for the rest of my team with those free transfers or money freed up in your team? Prang is mashed in. Hey Nacho, would you take a -4 to do Timber and Estevao? Obviously, Estevao is still struggling with an injury. To VVD and Wilson, or just do one or neither and roll. Okay, so for this particular game week, maybe I'm being a bit of a pessimistic or, you know, a bit of a negative Chelsea fan, but I think Arsenal are going to beat Chelsea and maybe quite comfortably at that. So I think Timber to Van Dijk long-term is a good play, 100%. But we need to address the situation right now, and that's Estevao is not a consideration for this week. So I think while Timber to Van Dijk does pay off over the next 4 game weeks, I think Estevao to Wilson is an instant improvement in your team, and then keep Timber. That's what I would do. But of course, doing Estevao to Wilson, who does that mean you then bench in your team? Phrasing, hope you well. Hey Nacho, what should I do about Verts with 0 transfers? Krupi is number 1 on the bench. Okay, so of course, with the Verts situation, and again, we need to remind ourselves that game week 29 is a midweek as well. So let's just get at my team just so I can use this as a bit of a visual cue for people. Again, guys, if you're new to the chat, please do put your questions in. Try and get to as many as we can over the next hour or so. So, of course, game week 28, as we know, is a Friday deadline. If you tune into this right now live, then we have got just under an hour and a half until that deadline. But then game week 29 is going to be a Tuesday deadline, 6 p.m. UK time. So, if you are looking at someone like Verts, then I like the idea of keeping him, but if he's out for this weekend, I don't think his minutes are going to be very good this weekend in game week 29 either. Then in game week 30, of course, Liverpool do have Spurs, which I anticipate they probably do win that game. And remember, there is FA Cup football, so there is a big gap between game week 29 and game week 30. So I almost feel like Verts is going to be out for the next two, but no doubt will be available for game week 30. That's a lot of money to just keep in your team as a bit of a dead weight. If you have Krupi available, then yes, he can come in. But Verts, for a -4 to somebody like a Mbeumo, I don't think it's a bad move either. No, I think a back five of all home games is absolutely fine. Absolutely fine, especially if they're in a position where they are DEFCON players as well. Joe, hope you're doing well. No worries at all if you're only here for a bit. If you've got any questions, please put them in the chat. I will be sure to get to them. Jonah, by the way, I'll most likely be doing Rice to Dango with 31 anyway, with the blank for Rice. Does this change anything? Look, if we look at Rice's fixtures coming up. So, Declan Rice coming up, you can see him on the right-hand side there. Chelsea, Brighton, Everton, and then they blank. Dango obviously has better fixtures. And Rice to Dango, do I think Dango outscores Rice over the next 3 game weeks? Yeah, I probably do think it does. So, I'm not against it at all. And if it is part of a free transfer, then yes, I think that is fine to do so. Someone like myself, I'm in a position where I own ENZO, as you can see on the bench. So I'm kind of looking at it thinking, well, I'm going to keep Rice, obviously, because the one thing that we need to consider with Declan Rice is that he is Mr. Consistent. 4 points against Spurs, 9 against Wolves, 5, 5, 3, 1 against Man United, 3, 3, 17. So he hits DEFCON pretty much every single game. He does put up okay numbers, obviously nothing incredible. So I don't think it's a desperate transfer, but yes, as an upside play, could I see Dango having more chance of like a double-digit return than Rice? Yes, 100%. Steambo, hey Nacho, hope you're well. I want to have both Ekitike and Thiago by next week. Would you bring in Ekitike this week and Thiago next week, or the other way round? Well, both have probably their best fixture this week. So game week 28, as a reminder for everybody, Brentford have got, let me just highlight it here for you, Burnley away, and Ekitike has got West Ham at home. It all comes down to, can you get to both this game week? Not in terms of buying both, but can you literally buy either? If that's the case, I would always lean towards probably the Liverpool game and the home fixture. But remember, Thiago is on penalties, and that is a big factor that we do need to consider. Guys, keep putting your stuff in the chat, your questions. I'm just going to quickly find out who is your game week 28 captain. So we'll put, who are the obvious ones? Haaland, Bruno. I think, who else is an obvious captain this game week? Salah, but I don't think his ownership is monstrous. I think Thiago could be a bit popular. I'll put Liverpool player, because I think if I've missed someone, please let me know. I probably have missed some obvious captaincy here. And while you guys are voting on that, and I will get through the chat, obviously, let me just show you what the situation is with my team right now. So I've got 2 free transfers, but I've got 0 in the bank. So flexibility isn't really my friend in terms of upgrading players. I can only really downgrade or use both transfers and sell somebody as a bit of a cash cow. Now, double Arsenal, obviously in defence, is not ideal for blank game week 31. But again, I think it's absolutely fine for this game week. Raya is one of those players that I'm happily going to keep until I wildcard, which I plan to do so in game week 32. So I'm looking to play Raya for the next 3, bench him in blank game week 31 and play Dubravka, and then sell him as part of my wildcard or keep him depending on what exactly I want to do with Raya. Gabriel obviously is sticking around. O'Reilly, obviously people are buying him right now. I'm happily keeping him. I've had him for the last 2 game weeks. happy days. Hill, the other one, I'm playing him ahead of all my other defenders, Anderson and Richards. I just think Hill's home fixture against Sunderland is better than that of Anderson's, even though Spurs look terrible right now. A lot of people buying Van Dijk, and I think Van Dijk is a great buy, by the way, but for my team, there's no reason selling Gabriel, there's no reason selling O'Reilly. If I sell Richards, I need a lot of money to get to Van Dijk. It changes the direction of the team, and I don't really think it helps my team that much. In terms of the midfielders, Rice, Rodgers, Fernandez are sticking around. The main reason being is because I own ENZO. Now, a lot of people are telling me, get rid of Rice before ENZO, and I think that's absolutely an argument that we have to have, because ENZO does play in game week 31, and at times he does play in the number 10 position, so that's fine. But I personally think ENZO's fixtures coming up are not ideal at all. I just have this bad gut feeling about Chelsea as well, and I think for that reason, ENZO is the one that I'd rather sell, even though Declan Rice is obviously a player that I have to sell by game week 31. But I'll show you in a minute how I plan on navigating my team in the next few weeks, and it will show you why it doesn't really matter which one I sell in this given game week, because I think I have routes to get rid of both, and I think Rice actually could do okay over the next few weeks. I still think he's a steady pick. Obviously, the front three picks itself this game week. So I am looking to sell ENZO. I'll talk about some replacements in a minute. I want to make sure I'm not rambling on about myself too much. So I'll go back to the chat, and then we'll talk about some ENZO replacements that I am considering right now. So, what have we got in the chat here? Ollie, I said, for me, Haaland is still the standout captain. Yes, for me. Hi, Nacho. Bench Hill or Tavernier? Bit worried of his minutes. Yeah, so I personally will go for Hill. I think Tavernier is a good buy, but of course, we don't know whether he's going to start. Hill will start. He hits DEFCON. Could get a clean sheet. I think you will kick yourself if you do start Tavernier over Hill. And then, obviously, you cannot control the outcome. So, what will be afterwards. Should I use my one transfer to get ENZO out, or save it and bench ENZO? Mohammed, let me know who you're starting if you were to keep ENZO. That is obviously a big part of it. Player back five, Gabriel, Van Dijk, Timber, Dallo, Hill. Looks good. And bench ENZO, or sell ENZO to Dango and bench one of Timber, Dallo, Hill, which I personally, in that scenario, I think that defence is really good. I personally would. Unless there is something about Dallo that I don't know about, I would start that back five. Luke, is it worth a -4 to buy a good midfielder to avoid playing the back five? No, I've covered that off. I think that's absolutely fine to do so. How about Chalobah to Van Dijk? Love that move. Yes, I think Chalobah, Chelsea, not really there personally. I think Van Dijk is a significant upgrade. I need to make 4 transfers before game week 31, and I'm contemplating a -4 to do Munoz plus Rice plus Gui to Hill, Wilson, Thiago. I think it is justified, but can you convince me that I do not need Thiago? Well, let me just show you Thiago's most recent returns. 2-2-5-2-2-2. Ain't great. Ain't great. Now, the numbers, 0.74 XGI, 0.99, 0.83, 0, 0.45, 0.25, and then, of course, he had his 5 goals in 2 games. So, when we look at Thiago, this should be something that you need to consider. That, yeah, he gets his ones, but, you know, brace. Hat-trick, brace. Like, his goals are coming in big kind of moments. Blank, blah, blah, blank. Hat-trick, blah, 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 brace. So, yes, of course, he could score 1 goal, but it feels like it's a common trend with Thiago where, like, if he gets 1, he gets 2. Do I think he's a good buy? Absolutely. Burnley, Bournemouth, West Ham, Leeds. Great fixtures. Your moves, you're selling Munoz, who of course blanks, so I think that's fine. Rice, not so much love in selling him as of right now, but you're upgrading Gui to Hill, Wilson, Thiago. Look, do I like it as part of a -4? No. Are you selling players that blank in game week 31 for players that don't and are good picks? Yes. So I like the moves. Do I like it for a -4? I never like a -4, but as far as -4s go, I like it. Would you do -4 to get Dango and Virgil in for Chalobah and ENZO? So look, again, I hate -4s. Like, you're just giving points away. You work so hard to get points and you chuck them back. So you easily could just do Enzo to Dango, but I need to know who your other defenders are to actually give you an honest answer on that one. Nacho, which defender would you suggest for 5 million or less? Well, first and foremost, if you don't have Hill, I think he's a great pick for the next few weeks. 3 of the next 4 at home, really good fixtures. I need to ask you firstly, do you have Hill? Would you play Chalobah or take a hit? Verts out for employment. Okay, so look, this is what I've kind of thought about Verts, is this. We got to remember, game week 28 is this weekend. Game week 29 is Tuesday and Wednesday. So for Liverpool, they play Tuesday and they play tomorrow. So if Verts isn't available for Saturday, sorry to say this, but I don't think he's going to play 90 on Tuesday night. Now, with the money that Verts is eking up in your team, can you afford to bench Verts for the next couple of weeks? Probably not. So in that scenario, I would be very tempted to take out Verts for Mbeumo. I do think that is an okay move. I think the fixtures are good enough for Man United. But, of course, Mbeumo did go off a cramp in one of the games, didn't he, most recently? So we just got to factor that when you are looking at bringing in Mbeumo in. But I do expect him to start, yes. Just checking right now to see if there's kind of anything right now on Twitter that I've missed, or an X that is kind of going on right now. Apologies. Let me just quickly check. No. Sorry, I've been at work all day, so I'm just seeing if I've missed any obvious injury news, that's all. Lafitte, Enzo or Rice, I need a bit of context on that one. Bench 2, Hill, Anderson, Wilson, Tavernier. You definitely start Wilson, you definitely start Hill. I would bench probably Forrest, Anderson, and probably Tavernier. I don't know if he's going to start. Don't know if he only played 10 minutes. What do you think of Concert as a differential for... Sorry, I would bench Fulham's Anderson and I would play Forrest's Anderson. I think he will probably hit DEFCON once again, most likely. Just to remind myself, Forrest have got, of course, Brighton. Yeah. Is Enzo to Dango Otara as started supposed a good move, or would you recommend any other players? I like those moves. Of course, we do have a bit of a debate on which budget midfielder to go to. Now, look, I kind of deep dived onto this in previous videos. I would recommend you guys to check out my best players to buy video, but look, time is of the essence. We've got just over an hour, so let me give you a quick one-stop shop. What I will say is this. Szoboszlai is now 100% in the conversation. Florian Wirtz is ruled out, and Frimpong is available for selection. Does that still mean Szoboszlai could play right back 100%? But I do think Szoboszlai is now a great pick with these upcoming fixtures. I probably would put Szoboszlai right up there alongside all of these picks. But there is about 1 million difference between him and some of these options here. So you have to take that into consideration if you are going for Szoboszlai. But I think Szoboszlai is a brilliant pick. Now, in terms of the 3 that we got here, Rayan at Bournemouth is really interesting. Since he's been in the Premier League, he literally has been electric. He has started all of the games. Sorry, has he started all of the games? I know he started 3 of them. And look, end of the day, even if he hasn't started all 4, he's still been great. So he played 22 minutes on his debut, which is understandable. Then 86, 90 and 90. And in terms of the numbers, you can see him here. His expected goal involvement over those 4 games is 0.49 per 90 minutes. Really good numbers. Shot volume's good. The only thing, of course, is new to the Premier League. It's Saturday or Sunday, and then it is following midweek. Does he have the fitness? Does he have that intensity to play back-to-back games within the space of 4 days? I literally don't know the answer. If anybody knows, let me know. But I think Rayan is a good buy. The real attraction for Bournemouth are the home games. Sunderland at home, Brentford at home, Burnley away is just an added bonus. Then Man United at home. Fixtures afterwards, not as good. Then we have Dango Otara. This is the big one right now. I'm looking at the transfers in. Basically, Dango's got 159. Wilson's got 259. So Dango is right in the middle between the two in terms of transfers in. If we look at the fixtures for Brentford, Burnley away, good fixture. Bournemouth away. I always feel like there's goals in those sort of games. Then Wolves at home, then Leeds away. So I would argue the fixtures are probably right bang on the same as Bournemouth's, because Bournemouth do have Man United in game week 31, which is a difficult game nonetheless. So I think they're pretty identical fixtures. Dango's minutes have been decent since he's come back from AFCON. Just to remind people of Dango's minutes, let me just put them up on the screen for you here. So he's played 90, 90, 90, 59, 53. Look, like, I'll be surprised if he suddenly comes out of the team. Sade coming back, I think that impacts Lewis Potter rather than Dango Ouattara. Sounded like Harry Potter than Potter. So he's good. The numbers have been good for him since he's come into the team and started to play in that front three. So Dango's a good pick. As I mentioned here, 90 minutes in the last 3 league matches is good going. Then we have Harry Wilson. We got to remind ourselves, 8 goals, 7 assists this season. He was the kind of budget midfielder before the budget midfielders. He has been fantastic all season. In terms of his minutes, once again, you don't really have to question the minutes. 90, 71, 90, 90, 90, 90, 87, 84. His numbers have been very good. Now, the actual numbers in the game, 0.3, 0.16, 0.17, but outside of that, 0.73, 0.47, 0.83, 1.39. Brilliant numbers. And importantly, the fixtures are really good. If you look at the fixtures of Wilson, Spurs at home, who are all over the place right now. Then we've got West Ham at home, Forest away, and then Burnley at home. I think that's a great run of fixtures. Yes, the numbers aren't as exciting, but I do think he is a bit more of the safer pick in and amongst all of the other mid-price midfielders. Now, this is the big debate that I personally have as well. This is the big debate that I personally have, and I'm going to be interested to know what people are debated. So which one would you buy? Dango, Wilson, or Rayan? I don't think there's enough confidence in Tavernier in terms of his minutes to go there. Now, I just want to put it out there. FPL is a savage game. So what will happen is one of these players will absolutely kill it. I am confident of it. One of these players will probably get 4 goals in the next 4 games. One will get 2 points across the board and one will get injured. That is just how FPL happens. Honestly, anyone that's played the game long enough will know this. It is never a fair game, or it seems that way anyway. I personally think if we come to the conclusion, and again, let me know in the chat, guys, if anybody thinks I am wrong in this. I think all 3 are good for minutes. I think over the next 4 game weeks, I think all of them are great for minutes. All of them will get between 80 and 90 minutes each and every game. Again, let me know in the chat if I'm wrong there. Then after that, we look at the numbers. We're looking at short-term numbers here, but they're all good. And the fixtures are great. I think you could make an argument for all of the fixtures. You could look at Brentford and go, yeah, but they got Burnley and Wolves. But then you look at Fulham and go, yeah, but they got Burnley and Spurs and West Ham. But then you look at Bournemouth and go, yeah, but they got, Brentford, Burnley. Right now, I have Rayan as 3rd. I don't see myself at the end of this stream buying Rayan. I just don't feel it in my gut right now. And probably because I don't really know him as a player too well either. I think Rayan is bottom for me. I don't think it is the player that I want to go to. I think I'll be disappointed if I go there. I just don't feel like I have enough confidence in him as a player to do it. Let me know if you think I wasn't wrong there, guys. So for me, it's down to Dango versus Wilson. So I want to quickly show you a little bit of a run through my team. I want to quickly run through my team for 2 seconds here, just to highlight what I could do. So when we look at the actual fixtures for game week 28, if I say to myself, Wilson or Dango Ouattara, I can't afford Szoboszlai unless I sell Rice. I'm not going there myself. So when I look at the fixtures, I think, really? Fulham's fixture's good against Spurs? Maybe Spurs do actually get themselves out of this rut. But I also think Dango's fixture against Burnley is fantastic. So if we do go down the route of Dango, which is probably I'm 60% sided towards, then the team will look like this for game week 28, which I think looks great. Let's say hypothetically speaking, Rayan and Wilson both bag hat-tricks. Let's just say that. Let's go into game week 29. Now again, how does my team look? Double Arsenal defence, fine. Hill against Brentford, O'Reilly against Forest, brilliant. Remember, this is a midweek next week fixture, so we got to have players that got guaranteed game time. Rice, Rodgers, Bruno Fernandes, Dango. Thiago, Ekitike, Haaland. I've even got Anderson on the bench, and we have got Lafay. However, if we get to a position where these guys just look unbelievable and I've got to own all of them, then I probably will have to sacrifice Declan Rice in order to get there, which I am willing to do. And when I look at the fixtures for game week 29, Bournemouth have got Brentford and Fulham have got West Ham. Great fixtures. So for me, it's not really a case of, oh my God, if I get the wrong player, I'm going to miss out on him for the foreseeable future. I can easily get the second one if I want to. I could very easily in game week 29 say to myself, whoa, I've got it wrong. I have got it wrong. And I simply go Rice to Wilson, or if I go Wilson, I buy Dango as the alternative. And simply game week 29 looks like this. I miss one haul, hopefully I buy the next. Then Wilson will be in the team. Then for game week 30, the team would look like this. I would have Raya, Gabriel, O'Reilly, Hill, fantastic. Dango, Fernandez, Rodgers, Wilson, Thiago, Ekitike, Haaland. And again, I've got a really good bench as well. And I look at the fixtures and say to myself, what am I missing? Well, I don't have the Bournemouth against Burnley. But again, if I'm in a position where, I'm like, oh my God, I need him, then I'll just sell Lafay. I'll just simply sell Lafay and I'll bench Rodgers if it gets that bad. Simple as that. So I could own all of these if I wanted to in each given game week. And then game week 31, just to give you an idea of what my team would look like with 3 transfers available. So again, I will make additional transfers to sort this team out. But the team would look like this. I would need a defender. I'm not going to think about it right now. When I get to game week 31, I will look at this and think, okay, cool. Who do I want? Let's say I want another Fulham defender. I'll go buy a Fulham defender. Or if I want a Newcastle defender, I can go buy a Newcastle defender. I kind of have the money available once I sell Declan Rice in order to do so. And I'll have another transfer to go buy exactly who I want, whether it be a midfielder or a forward. So that's currently the plan right now. If I had to be a betting man, I think I would be tempted to go for Dango and then buy Wilson in game week 29, because I think there's less chance of me wanting to buy Dango in game week 29. Like, if I saw Bournemouth away, I wouldn't really want him. But if I saw Wilson at home against West Ham and he also got a decent haul in game week 28, I'd be like, yeah, you know what, I want a piece of that. So that's currently where my head is at right now, is Enzo to Dango in 28, Rice to Wilson in 29, roll the transfer in 30, whatever transfer in game week 31, possibly 2 transfers, and then wildcard, bench boost, free hit, whatever transfers I got in game week 35. That is the current plan. Right, let's get back to the chat, because I appreciate I have been chatting for a long old time. I just want to bring up my team a minute. Just my current team, so I've got it on the screen for you guys there. Right, let's blitz through the chat. Sell Sarr for Wilson. Yes, I love that move. I think that's absolutely fine. But again, just to say, there is a chance I also buy Dango Ouattara. So, I think both are great picks this week. And we kind of covered them off in a bit of detail. Would I start Timber or Gahey? Thanks. Well, if I already had an Arsenal defender, I would go for Gahey myself. If I didn't have any Arsenal coverage, I would play Timber. If I owned Concert, I would start him against Wolves, yes. But again, who is the rest of your team? That is just something that, of course, need a little bit of context. Because if you've also got incredible players in the rest, then, it'd be like, oh, God, he needs to get them boys starting. Sorry, guys, just quickly checking X just to make sure I'm not missing anything right now. Because there might be some early Aston Villa news. And of course, I am a Rodgers owner. So that could impact things. No, nothing right now. Lafay, Enzo or Rice? Is that to start? Rice, if that's the case. Evan Nielsen to Thiago or Rice to Dango? I probably do prefer Evan Nielsen to Thiago myself. But of course, you are selling a player that plays a blank game week 31. If you're looking to prepare yourself for blank game week 31, then Rice out to Dango makes much more sense. Haaland or Bruno captain? Personally, I still think it is Haaland, but I do think Bruno Fernandes is a good pick as well, with Crystal Palace playing on Thursday night. If I was chasing rank, then it would be Bruno Fernandes. Actually, I hope well, mate. Start Enzo or Rice. Keep up the great content, mate. For me, thank you, by the way. It would be Rice in that scenario by quite a landslide. Instead of Enzo, I'm starting Senesi, Rice, Wilson, Rodgers. The rest are all solid picks. Yeah, I'd start all of those over that one, my friend. I think that is good. Is it Gabriel? Wildcard, and this is my team. I'm just going to say, I haven't done any wildcard drafts, so I'm not going to be the best person right now for you to prepare. I do apologise. But you've got Kelleher and Reyes, so you've got a goalkeeper for blank game week 31. I would say that's a lot of money to spend on 2 goalkeepers, though. Van Dijk, O'Reilly, Chow, Hill, Gabriel. So you've got 2 defenders there that are going to blank in game week 31. What is your strategy for blank game week? You then got Szoboszlai, Rayan, Wilson, Dango, Bruno Fernandes. Yes, that's fine. Ekitike, Haaland, and Thiago. Okay, so that's absolutely fine. But you currently have Raya, but that's not an issue because you have a playing goalkeeper. You've got O'Reilly, Gabriel, Haaland, that all blank in game week 31. Again, your team accommodates that because you have other players at play. So that's probably fine. But of course, just consider that if you are going down that route. But you have enough players to cover that off. Wildcard 31 and keep 5 free transfers. Yeah, you can. I prefer the wildcard in 32 because the team that you'll be building in game week 31 isn't fantastic. What to do with Verts? I want to do Gui, Rice, and Enzo. Or is it Gui? I can never pronounce it. Gui, Rice, and Enzo to Thiago, Tavernier, and Dango. But now Verts is a problem. Is it worth -4 to do 3 transfers plus transferring Verts out? I would make Verts the priority. It would change the structure of your transfer plan if you say to yourself, Verts is the first person that I want to sell. Because Tavernier, while I think it's fine, who knows? He might be on the bench again. He only played 10 minutes. Are we expecting Tavernier to suddenly play 90? I just don't really think it works that way, personally. Siversky, Nacho, evening. Hope you're well, mate. Cherky or Enzo to who? Well, again, we kind of covered it off in a lot of detail, but if you can get to Szoboszlai, I really like that play. Otherwise, for me, it's Dango Ouattara is the differential, or it's Harry Wilson is a bit more the template pick. Would you consider taking a -4 now because Verts is out? Would you do Verts, Enzo to Dango? Well, I'd probably sell Verts over Enzo now because I just personally think Verts is a risk for game week 29. Gordon, sorry, skip down to the bottom, but I just saw your question about Spurs making it difficult. And I mean, if Spurs legitimately want to stay up in this league, it's a must-win. It's an absolute must-win. And I do think them having a week on the training ground for him to get his plans in place. And for albeit Spurs have been a better team away from home than at home under Thomas Frank, maybe that will continue under the new management. But look, this guy's come in to legitimately keep him up. And I would like to think we can't judge the manager and the team based on a performance against Arsenal, who are one of the best teams in Europe. But I mean, God forbid if they lose that game. And yeah, I think there is a good chance that possibly Spurs play better against Fulham and maybe do win that game comfortably. We don't really know. Marley saying, hey Nacho, talk me out of doing Verts to Rodgers. Well, anyone that listens to my stream will know I hate Rodgers. I hate him. He was my darling last season with a reminder of 8 goals and 11 assists. I love the guy. He was so cheap. But if you want to be put off by Rodgers, just look at the returns. 2-10. So you love those moments. 2-8, 2-3-5-1, 1, 15-15. So when he goes big, he goes big. He goes big. But he doesn't really have anything else. The underlying numbers have been okay. Nothing fantastic. I don't mind it. But look, Wolves, Chelsea, and then Man United, it just doesn't really sit well with me. Then you got West Ham in 31. And I'm just putting it out there. That's the only reason Rodgers is sticking around is because of this week and because of West Ham. But look, I'm putting it on record right now. I do not think Rodgers delivers against Wolves. I just don't see it. I don't see it myself. Hey Nacho, would you start Anderson or Keane, or should I transfer Hill instead? Which Anderson is that? I'm guessing with Anderson that it's going to be the Nottingham Forest one, and then that's Forest against Brighton versus Everton against Newcastle. Then I probably would play Nottingham Forest as Anderson, who is a perfectly fine start, by the way. Lerner Pats, is it? Saying it's mental because you're convincing my over Dango versus Szoboszlai. I need to sell Rice to fund Virgil. I think Szoboszlai could hold due to his position change, but Dango might feel safer. Yeah, so I personally haven't had a chance to really deep dive into what Liverpool's starting 11 could look like. If there's any Liverpool fans out there and they can tell me that Gomez or Frimpong plays right back, then 100% Szoboszlai is your guy. Playing in a twin 10 position or in a 10 role, amazing. I can't afford him, so I haven't got that headache. But regardless, I think he either plays in the 10 role this week or next week, and next week is midweek. So you're going to get some good times with Szoboszlai regardless, I do think. Red Bull Volker, it's never a fair game, FPL fan. It is true. It is true. I would start Rice over Enzo and Lafitte by a comfortable margin in that one. Just a reminder of my team right now, guys. I will probably try and make a transfer in a minute. So I need to remind myself, like, Dango, how much do I like you, mate? Do I actually like you? Because I like Wilson. I do like Wilson. But I kind of know I can just get him next week in 29. I think this is the moment for Burnley. What are Burnley's games been like at home? What have Burnley been like at home? Let's take a look. Let's bring up old boy Stave. So, Burnley at home lost 2-0 to West Ham. Conceded 2. I don't really care about the result, by the way. I'm all about focusing about the actual goals conceded. So, Burnley have conceded 2 to West Ham, 2 to Spurs, 2 to Man United, 3 to Newcastle, none to Everton, but Everton are pretty woeful up front. 3 to 3 to Fulham, 1 to Palace, 2 to Chelsea, 2 to Arsenal. Clean sheet against Leeds, 1 to Forest, 1 to Liverpool. So they're not woeful, but they do ship goals. They do ship goals regardless. So yeah. I think Dango probably is the play for me. Just want to bring him up a minute here. Now again, he's only 2.4% owned as well, which is quite enticing, obviously. The problem is he just one of those that just like is going to be annoying? Is he going to annoy me? He only has to annoy me for 4 weeks and then he's going on a wild card. Yeah. I'll tell you what, let me get up FootMob a minute. We're going to have a look at his heat map. Actually, no, let's get up SofaScore because I know they have. Let's just do a bit more of a analytical breakdown of them a minute. So, let's remind ourselves, Brentford, oh boy, they were bad against, they were very bad against Brighton. So, this is what Brentford played in this particular game against Brighton. Utara left wing, Jensen, Lewis Potter. We're anticipating Lewis Potter loses his place to Sade. Heat map. I need to see where everybody was. So, I mean, just kind of chaos in the middle. Absolute chaos in the middle. Utara is the one we're looking at. Touches all over the place, which isn't too bad. Touches all over the shop. Don't mind that at all. Previous game for Brentford was I want to look at an away game that they've had. So let's take a look at the Brentford-Newcastle game. So again, we had Utara play, Jensen, Lewis Potter, all good stuff. When we look at the actual heat maps here again. Dango playing very advanced in this situation. Keane Lewis Potter playing a bit more here. So, you know, if we get him in these areas, then great. He looks like a bit more of a runner in this team than anything else. Final one I want to look at. I just want to see if I've got an actual game with Sade playing alongside him. So, just to remind myself, Dango's played. When was the game he got back? Forest at home, where they lost. Okay, so Dango actually come on in that game. Yes, Damsgaard got injured and then Dango come on. But again, if we look at the kind of setup right now with Dango, I mean, fantastic positions here for Dango in this team. I think that's kind of the route I want to go. I think Dango's the one. Exciting pick. Kind of what I'm looking for right now in the game. Happy to keep him for 4 weeks. I think there is upside in these fixtures. And then we can buy Wilson for the West Ham game if we see good things from him once again. I think that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of happy with that move. Just going to quickly run through how that pans out for my team, just so it doesn't look terrible. So Enzo to Dango, I'd bench Anderson, Lafie and Richards. Perfectly fine. Game week 29, I mean, I could do the move that I've presented, Rice to Wilson, but, you know, if not, I can keep this team and it looks fine. Then in game week 30, team looks like this. Again, all good. Brentford have got Wolves at home. Fantastic. And then in game week 31, we just do whatever we need to do, basically, to address the team for the blank game week. So I think it's fine. I think the move's fine. I'm happy with what happens. If any of the three go off and score a hat-trick, then fair play. Then fair play. I think I'm going to go there. I think we're going to do it. Right, let's get back to the chat a minute and then I'll pull my transfer. I just want to quickly check once more to see if there is anything out there that I am missing, because obviously I don't want to make the wrong move here. So basically what I mean is there anything for Villa? Because I want to make sure I do not miss anything there. Because if all of a sudden we get news that Rodgers is a doubt, then I've made the wrong move. But I can't see anything. So I'm just going to assume everything is fine. Right, where are we on the chat here, guys? Just a Timber. So Dan Air saying, just a Timber and Enzo for Virgil and Rayan. Let's freaking go. Like the moves. I do like the moves, yes. Who should I bench, please, this week out of the wildcard team? Please help. Gabriel, if I was benching part of your team, I mean, I'd be very tempted to play your Brentford goalkeeper if you're going to play against Burnley. I think realistically, you've got to play Gabriel because ownership's so big. You've got to play Van Dijk, and I think you've got to play O'Reilly. In terms of midfield, Szoboszlai, Rayan, Wilson, Dango, Bruno Fernandes, you've got to play all those. So this is the issue of a wildcard team. You got to work backwards. So like, let's work backwards. You've got to play Haaland, you've got to play Thiago, and I think you've got to play Ekitike. So you've got to play a front three. Midfield, I would play Dango over Wilson and Rayan. I obviously play Bruno, I obviously play Szoboszlai. So you either play, you've got to play a full-man midfield, so you've got to bench Rayan or Wilson. You decide on that one, mate. Because at the end of the day, this is the problem with building a wildcard team that is so stacked, is that you don't know who to bench. In terms of defence, you have to play Van Dijk, you have to play Gabriel, and I think you have to play O'Reilly, so you're benching Chow and Hill in that scenario. Start Rice, Timber, or Krupi. Well, if you don't have any Arsenal coverage, then I would lean towards Timber. Otherwise, it would be Rice. Krupi wouldn't be in the conversation, personally. Tavernier to Dango. If I think I've owned Tavernier, I'll just roll the dice and hope that he is a player that will eventually start in there. Is Rice to Szoboszlai a good move or not? Yes, I like the move. Could Rice do well this week? Absolutely. Chelsea are terrible from set pieces. Rice kind of starts on 4 points with defensive contributions, but I think that is a better player to own over the next 3 game weeks, 100%, and it prepares you for blank game week 31, of course. Start Vandenberg or Anderson? Well, I think I probably would go for Vandenberg. I think Anderson has a tough enough fixture against Spurs. Spurs are bad, but the manager's had a week to kind of prepare them for this game. It's an absolute must-win for Spurs, which is a crazy thing to say. I would like to think they're behind the manager, and I think it will be a more difficult game than others predict, maybe, for Fulham, which is a crazy thing to think. Tell me O'Reilly is a bad captain choice this week. Look, I don't mind it, but for me, Haaland is a significantly better captain than O'Reilly. Penalties are massive in this game. The penalty taker should always get the pick over any other player in the same team. Rice, Szoboszlai or Wilson, again, look, for me, I probably would go for Szoboszlai over Wilson myself. Unless there is a really good chance Szoboszlai plays right back, then I would tip for Wilson. Rice and Gay out for Szoboszlai and Van Dijk, or just leave it. I mean, I do like the move, yes. I mean, I don't think you have to make that move, by the way. But for the next 4 game weeks, what do I prefer? I prefer Szoboszlai and Van Dijk, personally. Bringing in Dango, so do I leave myself with Enzo and Ekitike or João Pedro and Rice? I need a bit more context on that, Leighton. I'm kind of confused. Do you mean like you're bringing in Dango? So do you mean like you're selling Enzo for Dango? Just to give me a bit of context on it, buddy. Sorry, I might be being thick there and not really knowing it. So Szoboszlai or Gabriel to start. Look, you are taking a huge risk by benching Gabriel. I probably still would start Gabriel. Dango or Szoboszlai, again, I personally like Szoboszlai as a bit of a pick. But I don't have the confidence right now to know if he doesn't play right back. And if he plays right back, he is a completely different beast in a bad way. So for confidence of the position, then it would be Dango. But again, please let me know if I'm being silly. If Szoboszlai obviously is playing midfield, then that really elevates him as a pick. Just checking right now again to see if there's anything out there that I'm missing. No, I can't see much. So like I said, I think I'm going to pull the trigger on my transfer that I mentioned, guys. Christ, I just realised how much I frown when I bloody look at my phone. Crikey. Look, Kevin Schade is interesting, but he's significantly more. Significantly. You need to make sure you're not hindering the rest of your team afterwards. Is Mbeumo fit? He went off with cramp. I assume he's going to be fine. Would you do Munoz, Timber and Gui, or Gui, however you pronounce it, to Van Dijk, O'Reilly and Thiago for a -4? So look, Munoz I think can always deliver, but do I like Palace for the next few weeks? No, and he blanks. Timber, I think, will get a clean sheet this week, but of course blanks, and Gui isn't even a presence. So while I hate -4s, and part of that is going to be you buying O'Reilly, who blanks in game week 31, then yes, I do like the players that you are bringing in. Take Richards out to buy Van Dijk, or take Dorgu out and buy Kanate. Well, I don't think Richards offers much value now. If you're wildcarding in game week 32, and you only got 4 game weeks, if your squad can allow it, I think Richards to Van Dijk would be my preference. Thoughts on Palmer and Sarr, hold or sell? Palmer is always a fine keep, but it's Arsenal. Look, Palmer to Saka is a consideration, but Saka blanks in game week 31, of course. You can always keep Palmer. Sarr for me probably is a sell, though, and I think there are great options as we discussed so far this stream. And I mean, had Verts in place for weeks, absolutely tragic. Yeah, that is just savage. And it's just how the game pans out. Like, sometimes when people talk about how they are great at FPL and they're content creators, I don't like that personally, because the game... Look, this is coming from somebody who finished 270th in the world about 4 seasons ago. Trust me, I did not do that out of skill at all. And a lot of people that kind of tell you that I can guarantee you this rank. Look, there is some skill to the game, But honestly, things like that are a perfect example. You prepare your team, injury. Prepare your team, guy misses a penalty, minus points. Like, you literally can't control the outcome. And in that scenario, mate, I feel sorry for you because you probably planned it quite well and then suddenly gets injured and you're like, bloody hell, didn't plan that out. So, is what it is, mate. It's savage. You just got to roll with the punches, unfortunately, on that one, mate. Rice and Marguerite out for Rayan and Igor Thiago. Yeah, like again, you're changing the complex of your team because you are getting rid of, you know, a player that doesn't play for a forward that does play. But like, yes, I do like those moves. Done Enzo to Dango, attempts to do Wirtz to Sposlo from -4. Assuming Wirtz is out for Wolves and with Frimpong back. Yeah, so look, I may be missing something, but it looks like Wirtz is out for this weekend, and therefore, because Liverpool play Tuesday, you've got to assume his minutes are going to be a bit of a risk. So, again, I don't mind the moves at all. Sorry, so I'm bringing in Dango. If I sell Rice, it means I can do Pedro to Ekitike. If I keep Rice, then I sell Enzo instead, but means I'm stuck with João Pedro, but I hope that makes sense. So I don't think it matters if you're stuck with João Pedro, but if you sell Rice, it means that you can do Pedro to Ekitike, then yeah, I do like it. But can I just say, like, Rice is one of those players that, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a 5-pointer this week. You know, 2 for an appearance. Winnie, in the bed. 2 for DEFCON, and then 1 for a clean sheet. Like, that would not surprise me at all. In the slightest. So, just be cautious with Rice. I think he's a walk-in 5-pointer. Very, very easy. Do I like Dango or Szoboszlai more? Have no Liverpool otherwise and own Thiago for Brentford. Look. I just don't know for sure whether Szoboszlai's playing in the midfield. If Frimpong was available and guaranteed to start right back, I prefer Szoboszlai. I do prefer Szoboszlai. But I just can't guarantee it. Please let me know if somebody knows a bit more information than I do. Gabriel, I'm pretty sure I covered that, mate. Like, I'm Gabriel, just a heads up. I'm not going to go for a wildcard team just because I haven't planned one. And it would just be poor of me to sit here and spend time building a wildcard team when time is of the essence, unfortunately. And I kind of covered off who I'd bench. Like, I don't like any of these, by the way, that I'm benching, but it'd be Chow, Hill, and probably Rayan. But obviously, the wildcard team that you've built means that you are always going to be benching somebody that you love. So you just got to ensure you know that. -4 Wirtz to win Buemo, or just play one of... -4 Wirtz to just play one of Munoz or Anderson. If so, which? So again, the only issue with Wirtz is, like I said, game week 29 is a midweek next week. So it's not a case of like keeping Wirtz for game week 29. If there was like a 2-week gap, I probably would say just roll. But it could very quickly be you're keeping Wirtz for 2 game weeks, and then all of a sudden that's 8.5 million of your team just sat on the bench where it could be allocated towards points. So that's why I'm a bit more just sell Wirtz. But again, I do apologise. I've been at work all day. I may have missed some details about Wirtz that others know about. So that's the only thing really. It's just I would do a bit more research if you are going to sell Wirtz just to see what the reports are, because I haven't been able to actually fully see that. Is Sade a better pick than Dango? I probably would say yes. Is he better for $1 million more? I don't know. My dog's just completely passed out in her bed. I took her out in the rain, and it was absolutely chucking it down. You know when you're walking your dog and you're like, we're wet now, we're going to keep being wet. And she is just cooked right now. She's looking at me so sad. So sad. A little bit wet. Hey, Nacho, sorry for the mix-up. I meant Anderson from Fulham. Would you start Anderson or Keane? Oh, I would definitely start Anderson over Keane, personally. Or should I transfer Hill instead? Look, Hill is a great pick, but you don't really need it. You don't need it this week. You can just start Anderson, but Hill will help you out. But again, you need to plan your team over the next few weeks to understand whether it does benefit your team. Look, I'm going to make my transfer in a minute, and then unfortunately we're going to have to wrap it up in about 5 minutes just because I got to do a TikTok live, which I got to sort. So let me just quickly check. Last thing, just because I'm an Aston Villa owner, I've got to make sure, because they're kicking off today, I am not missing any news, and I don't think I am. Cool. Guys, I'm going to make my transfer. As I said, I am it's a 50-50 call between Dango and Wilson for me. I just think Spurs might actually put up a test against Fulham. I think weak in charge of the manager on the training pitch, I think they could be a bit more of a tough customer than others are giving Spurs credit for. I just want to make sure I officially cannot afford Szoboszlai, which I cannot. So I'm going to do it. Dango in. I'm not going to overthink it. I've spent most of this stream deliberating this. If you keep thinking about it, you come up with different paths that could happen. So just to confirm, Enzo out, Dango in. Have I bought the right guy? Yes, I have. In. And in terms of my setup, it means I'll bench Laffy, who could do well, by the way. He could definitely do well. And I think the team will look at this with Haaland captain and Bruno vice. And that's my team. I'm okay with it. I don't think it's a great team, but I think it is fine. It's a fine team this week. Yeah, it's what it is. That's the team. We have done it. We have done it. Hello, I like the first two moves, and Rice to Wilson is like a luxury move. I probably would just keep Rice and play him personally. Like, I'm in the same boat. I could do Rice to Wilson myself. I haven't even thought about doing that. Like, I think Rice is fine this week. Enzo and Chalobah to Dango and Van Dijk for a -4. Other defenders are Gabriel, Richards, Anderson, and Heaven. The problem is, like, could you do Richards instead of Chalobah? If you can, I like it because you're getting rid of a player that blanks in game week 31. Thoughts on Sade plus Dango and Ekitike over Thiago? Sade over Dango. Ekitike over Thiago I think is exciting, but both have been as painful as one another. And you got to really want Ekitike to pay that additional money, whereas Thiago's sat there at 7 million. He's like 2 million cheaper than Ekitike. Thoughts on Sade plus... I've covered that one. Start Rice or Gahey. Ooh. I think I would go for... I still don't think Man City are watertight defensively. I probably would be tempted to go Rice myself. Thoughts on Sade? I've covered that one. Dallo or Hill to start? I would go for Hill myself, I think. I would start... And again, I would start Anderson and just hope for that. I think Hill's a good buy, but is he guaranteed a clean sheet this week? No, I don't think he is. Oh, okay, DZ, yeah. Then in that case, I think if your team is okay for game week 31, selling Chalobah for that route is not bad at all. Sanchez versus Dubravka to start this week. I would go for the home game always, and I would go for Dubravka myself. Rice to Wilson so I can afford Van Dijk over Anderson. Yeah, I think that's a fine move. Again, Rice is a walk-in 5-pointer this week. I think Arsenal win this game, and I think they win it quite comfortably. Maybe I'm being a bit, and I'm a Chelsea fan. I think Chelsea's record is so bad against Arsenal at Arsenal. So I personally think they win that quite comfortably. But again, he is a walk-in 5-pointer, I think, this week. Should I bench Rice or Chow? Oh, I probably would bench Rice in that case because Chow has got a good fixture against Everton, and he's great for DEFCON, and he does have a tendency to score as well. Collins, still very difficult to predict. I know there's been an injury in Brentford's team and he come on at half time, but is there guarantees he starts once again? Probably, but I don't want to be the guy to guarantee you that. Right, guys, I do have to jump on a TikTok live now, so I am going to have to wrap it up there because I got to go on there. If anybody wants to check it out, head over to TikTok. I will be over there in the next 5-10 minutes or so. But I've made my move. I have done, just to confirm, Enzo to Dango, which is giving me a bit of money in the bank. And the reason why I made the move, I kind of covered it off. It's Wilson or Dango. And I think Wilson I can buy next week. I'm just assuming Spurs are going to be better after 1 week in charge of the new manager. proper preparation for a must-win game, I feel a bit more confident that Spurs might put up a better account for themselves than what they've done against Arsenal, because at the end of the day, Arsenal are a great team. So for that reason, Dango's in. I think there's just more chance of a big haul from Dango than that of Wilson. Cue the huge return from Wilson, no doubt. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Again, if you enjoyed it, drop a like on your way out. Always massively appreciated. If it's your first time here, please do consider hitting that subscribe button as well. That'd be awesome to have you around for the back end of the season. I'm going to wrap it up. I do apologise. You've got just under half an hour to the deadline, so make sure you get those moves done. Most importantly, have an amazing weekend. Enjoy it without having the deadline on Saturday morning. And I will see you most likely Sunday morning or Saturday evening with a bit of a recap and probably some